Daredevil Born Again has been great. Only 3 episodes in, and this show's taken us on an emotional roller coaster. I mean, episode 1 kicks off with the 3 amigos coming together again. And Karen, Foggy, and Matt, they were the heart and soul of that show. And man, it's so great seeing them together again. They go out to good old Josie's after work, and just nice seeing them together, nice seeing them just hanging out. But it don't seem like that the good times last too long, because Foggy goes outside, takes a phone call, and they do this really cool thing where the camera kind of like has a glare on Matt's ear, and you can see him visually and audibly listening in on the conversation that Foggy's having outside. Oh my god, that's a really cool way to do that. They hear about an attack happening up the street, and Matt suits up in the Daredevil costume. It's a new one. It's a pretty one. Gives me very much Amazing Spider-Man 2 costume vibes, where this thing's a bright red, textured, and just very, very appealing to look at. But the goodness of the eye don't last long, because Bullseye returns, goes bah! Right through the heart of Foggy Nelson, and Foggy dies. That was heartbreaking. That was absolutely heartbreaking. I loved Foggy. That man was just a great guy. And now he's dead. And as he's on the floor, his life bar draining away, Daredevil and Bullseye are fighting at the bottom of Foggy's, and in one shot, they go from the bottom of the bar to the top of the roof. That was a really cool way to do that one-shot fight scene, because you just see so much going on around them. Daredevil's getting knives thrown in him. Everyone's getting out of breath. It's a really cool, innovative way to do that kind of scene. Matt focuses in, hears Foggy's heart stop, and man, he just is going all rage mode. He just took Bullseye, just threw him off a building, and just splat, hits the ground. And I don't know how that guy lived, because his eyes opened. That dude should be a pool of blood. The reaction of Karen and Matt, just their screams of distraught, their heartbrokenness, it hits you right in the feels. Man, it is heartbreaking to see. I loved that guy, and just to see the friends react how they did, and eventually what happened to them, is just terrible. This show really knows how to pull at the heartstrings. Rip, my man Foggy. Matt just says, screw it, I'm done. This has been the final straw for me as Daredevil. I'm done with this. Takes the helmet off, throws it down. We can see it falling down too, and it's actually really cool because one of the ears breaks, and you can see the mold where the ear was actually shaped like a D. That's a nice little subtle touch. We get a time jump. Matt's got his own firm now. He's got a very nice apartment. And he carries around this little memoir of Foggy in his little jacket. It's very nice. Very sweet. Very nice way to remember your friend. We cut to keeping up with the Fisks. Yep. They've broken up. Vanessa has become Queenpin. She's taken over the crime syndicate. Seems to be doing well for herself. She seems to be running it well. And as she's running a meeting, her ex, Mr. Wilson Fisk, walks in a room. The door just opens. Man, that dude, he just gives off aura. He just commands a room when he is in it. Because the door just opens, and people just fled. And it was just those two at that point. It was just Vanessa, and it was just Wilson. And it's revealed that she cheated on him. Wow, what a great wife. I've thought this since the Netflix show. It seems like Wilson cares a lot more about this relationship than Vanessa does. Matt's on witness stand pleading his case against Bullseye, begging for him to go to jail, go to prison. Karen walks in, and they both just make instant eye contact. We get the result. And that's it. He gets life in jail. Matt and Karen had completely different grieving processes. They had a huge falling out in the year that passed, and they just never could click. They could never connect with each other. One tried, one tried. And in this convo, we find out that Matt retired as Daredevil, which, that ain't gonna last. No superhero ever retires for real. And we find out Wilson Fisk wants to run for mayor. His first action? Outlaw vigilantes. He might have had a little bit of a troubled past with them, maybe. Miss Kirsten McDuffie set Matt up on a literal blind date and told each partner that they were meeting up for different reasons. One thought that it was a therapy session, one thought it was an appointment of needing a lawyer. Nah, they were both lied to. But hey, it seems to work out in the long run. They both seem to be a nice little match for each other. And Matt saw that announcement earlier that Wilson's gonna run for mayor. And their history between each other, that ain't gonna fly with Mr. Matt. They run into each other. And there's a crowd of paparazzi around Fisk. It's actually really cool because Fisk and Matt meet eye to eye. And you just hear the nothingness, the noise drown out from the crowd. And you just hear their two voices. And Matt and Wilson go to a diner. They have some nice dinner together. They have this nice little convo. And I love scenes like this where the villain and the hero are just talking with each other, just talking about ideologies and just how they think as a person. I love those kind of scenes. It basically comes down to there's a super interesting conversation between the two. You can tell there's a mutual respect between the two. It's kind of like an odd frenemy relationship, but more on the enemy side. They both essentially say to each other, stay out of my way, I'll stay out of yours. And if we cross paths, whether it be as a lawyer or as a vigilante, one of us may come after the other. And hey, that blind date worked. Because Heather and Matt go out again, and as they're walking away, Matt uses his supersonic hearing and hears that Wilson is elected mayor. I have a question. How long was that election? Because there was no time frame said nor implied that passed. It felt like he announced it and then it happened that day. I know elections aren't that instantaneous. It felt like no time had passed at all. And it ends with Fisk on a rooftop and Matt on the ground. You can tell they're not directly looking at each other, but they're like, in a sense, looking at each other. And they do this really cool visual storytelling where with a white spotlight on Fisk and a red spotlight on Matt, showing who they really are, who their true colors are. And the people of New York divided on this. Either people love him or people hate him. Just like real politics. And on a broadcast, Wilson says, hey, we don't need a devil, we don't need a guy wielding guns, and we don't need a guy dressed as a spider. Hey, I got that reference. And we see a guy going down to the subway, hearing someone get beat up. He's getting beat up by two corrupt cops. He goes in to help, and as he's helping, the guy runs away. So he's just left to fend for himself. And one of these cops just swings on him, misses, and just falls directly onto a train track and gets splat on by a train. He gets arrested for it. And Matt happens to be at the same place where that guy who we just met did. And he finds out details about what happened, what we saw. And then Fisk is stuck on a highway, and there's this big old hole in the middle of it. I wish they would have explained where that hole came from, but in my mind, in my own canon, it was from that Peter and Dr. Octopus fight in No Way Home. And Wilson said that he'd be a mayor who gets stuff done. And the construction crew was there who could have filled the hole. He just goes up to him and is like, yeah, go ahead, you're approved to fill it. Yeah, he is a guy that gets stuff done. Said they need a permit, and he just said, here you go, you got it. Talk about right place, right time. Makes them look good. And the police just don't like Fisk. He threatens this one commissioner with, hey, I know your secret life. You do what I want you to do, or else you're getting exposed. Cherry and Kirsten go over to Hector's house and interview his wife to see if they can find anything, any details about the guy. And as they're finding details, Cherry goes in the room and finds a big old detail, and that is a white tiger costume. Matt asks him, being like, why would you not have told me about this? And he makes a pretty compelling argument saying, hey, the thing that I did in the subway, That wasn't White Tiger, that was Hector. Somehow Matt convinces the judge to not use the White Tiger evidence and the costume into play into this case. Which, I don't know how he would have done that. Oh yeah, I know how he did it. He's a really good lawyer. And Matt starts following the cop that was involved in the subway incident, and eventually comes to that they're going to go to the guy that they started beating up, his name being Nicky Torres. They're going to go to him, and they're going to do something with him. We don't know what, but Matt beats them there. And oh boy, we get a fight scene. He tells Nicky to leave, and the inner Daredevil comes out of Matt, and he brutalizes these cops. Slams him into a fridge, slams him into a wall, breaks this dude's arm hard, like it went the other way where it's not supposed to go. And just, I'm pretty sure snapped the other dude's neck, because he went from the floor standing to upwards, and then his neck just kind of bent. Gee, it sounded like it too. It sounded like that sound. Man, Matt's really giving into his killer side these past couple episodes. And episode 3 starts off with a really nice scene of Hector telling Matt about a beach in Puerto Rico, where he's just telling about the vibes, the looks, the tourists, the frogs that are there. Just very nice scenery to it. And Matt promises, as the good lawyer he is, that he'll get to see that beach again. As we go from a sweet scene to a pretty tense one, Wilson and Vanessa, they just are not getting along. They're just sitting at opposite ends of the table. They got different ways of running the empire. They're just not getting along. They're just not clicking. But the trial of the people versus Hector Ayala is going to take place now. And before that happens, Matt's in the bathroom. That corrupt cop from earlier walks in. He basically tells him without telling him, hey, I know you're Daredevil. Cherry brings Nicky to the courtroom, just right in the nick of time. And Nicky is on the stand, and he's under oath. Under oath, you ain't supposed to lie. For some reason, he lies. That was very stupid of him to do. You could help Hector out in this. You could help yourself in this. He says he wasn't there on the subway. Yes, you were. You were being beat up. You were there. Why would you lie? You could help everyone out in this case. Hector goes up there. He's a good dude. He's a good husband. He's a good father. He's just a family man. He's a good guy overall. And then Matt does something wild, where this just caught me by surprise. I even audibly went, what the? When he brought this out. He brought out the White Tiger costume. At first I'm thinking, why would you bring that out? That just makes you lose the case in the long run. And he said earlier to the judge that he was not going to bring it there. But I didn't think about this. This actually might have worked in their favor, because multiple people who were saved by White Tiger over time came over to the witness stand and told stories about how they were saved by him. Innocent people who were just caught up in bad situations. A fire in a car, a robbery in an alley, former and current cops. There are stories of how he was helping them out. And we finally get the verdict. On all accounts, he is not guilty. Thank God, because he really wasn't. Matt and Heather celebrate with a nice home-cooked meal and some drinks to go along with it. A little remembrance to Foggy. Very sweet. But the part that wasn't sweet was Kingpin. He ain't happy about this. He sees another vigilante on the street. He don't like it. He thinks the court was wrong. He thinks the juror was wrong. Hector's a free man. It's no time. He goes out that night. He suits up his White Tiger costume. He hears a woman screaming for help. He goes over to help. And bah! He gets shot. That completely caught me by surprise. And just blew me away, because right when I started to like the guy, you kill him. And it's revealed that someone with the Punisher logo killed him. I don't think that's Frank, because I feel like he would have liked Hector. It could have been Punisher, it could have not been. I don't think it was, but man, what an ending. Caught you by surprise. Man, I'm loving this show so far. I'm looking forward to every episode, and let me know what you think about it. Let me know in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and see you later. Stay safe, stay sexy.